as people interested in Linux, you might be more interested in penguins at the other pole. Yeah, so we work with Linux on the Axel computers. We're with a group called Unleashed Kids. Yeah, so you probably have either heard of One Laptop Child or maybe been by our booth and saw the Little Green Computers. It has educational software. It has a Fedora base with what they call Sugar operating system, Sugar OS on top. It's sort of like the GUI that just puts the educational activities in front of the kids for them to use.
And based on Linux. The stuff we have to talk about is related to Linux in a bunch of different ways. We're not talking about Linux. If you're here to learn specifically about Linux, sorry. That's not really us, but we have lots of stuff to do with Linux. So.
Yeah, so our talk is basically a tangential to this whole Linux discussion of the conference that you came to see, but we think it's interesting.
And my name is James, and I've been with Unleashed Kids for the past year or so.
My name is Kurt, and I've been working with Unleashed Kids for like 6 or 7 months now. Yeah.
Kurt just got back from Haiti a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Doing the work we do.
So James was in Haiti about a year ago, a little more than a year ago.
Yeah.
And I was in Haiti last month.
And we have just a very short clip that we thought would just give you a quick. Kurt's wife took some videos last time they were there, and we thought it might just give you a quick picture of the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah. So
before we even start explaining it. Sound system set up here. So this young man here, this is Meshnikov. I met him back in 2012 in the very small village of Ferrier, which is situated up on top of a mountain next to Port-au-Prince. So very close to the city, but yet very far away because the mountain is very steep and very difficult to get there. I took a gap year after high school and ended up, in the course of my travels, ended up doing some volunteering there. When I was there the first time, no one there had ever used a computer. And I learned a lot there, and I came back. After coming back, I came in touch just by chance with some of the One Laptop per Child people, and I started to think about a project that would be fun to do and we could do to bring these computers up. Involving the computers and the school, I started to come up with some plans, and then the third missing piece there, of course, was going to be solar power, because in a place where there's no power, we're not going to be able to use these computers for very long at all. So the school itself, there's about 50 to 100 kids there, depending on whether they can pay that time of the year or whether their parents have other work for them to do.
What's the cold water?
yeah, sent to pull water up the mountain or sent to work in the mines for that day. There's all sorts of, there's a lot of challenges that we faced like that when we were working over there. So, I ended up getting it working. I ended up going over there, setting up the initial project. Kurt ended up putting the finishing details on his work, on this project. It works today. This is the school, which I just described. And it works today. Every week they're doing lessons on these computers. It works today. We have a working solar system. And this has been my big project, so I thought I would go over some of the logistical and also the technical details of how we get this working. These are Linux computers. This is a solar system with a battery and a charge controller and all this. There's a lot of technical details that I had to go over and a lot of challenges we faced that I think that I've learned a lot from, and hopefully you guys might learn a bit from. So, first challenge we faced is it's very out of the way. It's isolated. So how are we going to get, for example, a big glass solar panel like this up a mountain on a motorcycle? Well, that's not going to be very easy. Came across this solar panel, surfing online. This is a unisolar, amorphous 136 watt solar panel. It rolls up, it's about this big. You can put it in your backpack and hike up a mountain, no problem. And for 136 watts, it's not very much for us here, but for the situation, it was actually just enough. And it's 24 volts, which is not 12 volts, which is how much our batteries are, and I'll get to that discrepancy later. And it's 2 feet by 18 feet long. So kind of an odd shape. And like I said, it's amorphous. What that means is basically it's not the traditional material that you need to put behind glass and a solar panel. You can kind of warp it around and step on it, and it's all right with that. That also means that you have a little bit more area for every watt you get, but that's no problem. We have a big roof at the school, and it's also a little cheaper, so that's fine. Other problem we faced is no one had ever used a computer before. Fortunately, the teachers weren't from the village. The teachers were from the city, so they'd used computers before. But still, it took some work working with the teachers to get them to find the way they wanted to teach the children who'd never used computers before, how they're going to do their first lessons. They did a pretty good job. And also, what benefits us? Do I have my computer? My XO? Yeah. Here it is. Okay. This is my computer. This is my XO. These are the computers we use. Also benefits us is the Sugar operating system, which runs on these computers. It's meant for kids. It's meant for the developing world, and it's originally from the One Laptop Per Child project, and it's a totally different learning curve than any other operating system. So that makes things a little bit easier to work with when we're working in a place where people haven't used computers before. Other challenge we faced is security. It's very poor. So what are we going to do with all these expensive materials and all this equipment? Well, this helps that it rolls up, and we can put it in a shed at night. Same thing with the charge controller and the battery. They're not too big. Same thing with the computers. We can put a stack of 10 of these and just bring them into a little shed. It all fits. So that was one other concern with security. And of course, the biggest challenge, of course, is how do we get a solar system that, how do we figure out a working solar system without spending too much money, and how do we get all the parts working together? I mean, I'm not yet an electrical engineer, so there's a lot that I had to learn about this. Parts, the solar panel, which I just showed you. Battery is a 80 amp hour deep cycle battery. That's the one part which you can't bring from the United States because the airlines won't allow it. Kurt ended up buying this battery in Haiti, $250, and it holds, these computers, they take about 30 watt hours to charge. We multiply that by 10 computers, you need 300 watt hours. An 80 amp hour 12 volt battery is 960 watt hours. So 960 divided by 300 is, this battery holds about enough charge to charge all the computers 3 times, which is good, because with these batteries you don't want to charge them, you don't want to decharge them any more than 50%, because it's not good for their lifetime. So that's good. That means that we can decharge the battery. We can use, when it's full up, we can use about the top 30% to charge all the computers. Then we can charge it up again, and that takes about 3 hours to get the solar power on a sunny day, which is every day in Haiti, to get the solar power we need to charge all the computers. This little thing, I just put together some wires. I soldered together some wires, and I got the parts that fits this hole on DigiKey. You look around on the internet, I was able to find that. This is an $80 charge controller. One thing I mentioned before, this puts out 24 volts. This is a 12 volt battery. With a cheap charge controller, which we used originally, in my original plan, the charge controller just blew up. It didn't know what to do with that. It was too much power, too much voltage. So this one does a very elegant job of just bringing it down to 12 volts and without too much fuss. Without bringing down the amount of power you're actually getting. It comes up to about $600, $650 total, and it's been a very good, simple, portable system based around a solar panel that you can roll up into a backpack. That kind of makes it unique. And that makes it
On the back of a motorcycle and up to the
I like to call it roller power.
He likes roller panel, yeah.
And you see here, this is them working on it up on the roof. This is our friends. These guys are crazy. They'll do anything with electronics. The first time one of the connections broke off here, this guy, he took a Dominican peso. He took the little center part out, and he held it over the stove with a coat hanger, and they used that to solder it back together.
They told us they use US pennies now, so I guess the exchange
Probably changed between then and now. This is not how it's set up, because you see it kind of doesn't quite fit that way, but now we'll put it this way. You see the size compared to this computer. It's very long. And this is the end result. This is our friend Adam. The computers are charging today. It works well, and they're pretty happy with it. As long as we can keep the school running, this project is hopefully going to be a success in the future. Kurt's going to tell you a little bit about the other aspects we have about bringing computers, but that's the solar aspect.
Basically, the model that we use is to set up computer clubs. Maybe not in every case, but in many cases, we try to set up a place where kids can go and use computers and get familiar with computers and use the educational software on there as well. So this word is the Haitian Creole word for a club, as far as we could give the local people to understand what we meant by computer club. And so I thought I'd just start with that. That's sort of the end goal, is to get at least somehow the kids using computers, and ideally not for Facebook and looking up pictures of Justin Bieber, but for learning just about anything. So Wikipedia, or there's Scratch to learn programming. There's all kinds of different things that they can learn. But of course, it all starts with being able to use a computer. At least things that they can learn through a computer. It starts with being able to use it. So I don't know if you remember the very first slide. That was a photo that he took in his first trip to Haiti a couple years ago. Yeah. So this is the same kid who was showing off his XO laptop there. When we went to go fix that solar, improve that solar power system, this kid just ran right up and he's like, "You know James?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I know James." I'm not sure how he knew I knew James, but
One of the basically when a white person goes to Haiti, they ask the other ones that they've met.
Yeah,
It's pretty incredible.
Probably are right about 99% of the time.
It's kind of strange. We go to the airport and we hear them asking for Swerve.
Yeah,
Here's our friend. Recognizable there.
She's not terribly happy about that situation, but so yeah, the place that I want to talk about in particular is this place, T Plus Cazo, or Little Cazo Place, I guess. This is the orphanage. On the other side, there's a school. The orphan kids go to this school. Also, some neighborhood kids go to this school. It's kind of in a, I hesitate to say slum area, but it's kind of in a poor area of Port-au-Prince. So the problems that we faced at Cazo are a little bit different than the problems that we faced in Verrier. Since this is a kind of inner city, or at least in the city school, there was different problems. So I thought it might be interesting just to look at a little bit different what those problems were and how we solved those problems. So yeah, this is just some of the kids. They love to get in front of cameras. This is another volunteer who snuck in photobomb. Yeah, and so it's all to get these kids working with computers, learning with computers, and then to me, I think this is maybe going to help them get a job in the future, for example. Not everybody is going to be able to be exposed to laptops, to just even basic computing, being able to say, oh yeah, I can type, I can use Office or word processing or whatever, I can do that kind of thing. So, it's really, the end goal is to give them some kind of benefit, whether it's purely educational or if it's professional or whatever. It's all for that. So we did face electrical issues, but we didn't face the same kind of electrical issues. Since this is on the city power, so there's grid power to this orphanage and to the school, but the grid power is only on for like 2 to 6 hours a day and randomly. The orphanage side has batteries, it has a diesel generator, but the school side doesn't have any of that. Of course, we want the computers to be used, or in any case, the computers are going to be used mainly on the school side, where the power is random. So random and brief. Also probably not very reliable. So one thing, yeah, so there's a few issues. There were a few issues with that. But mainly we wanted a Wi-Fi access point in the school. So we had to run Ethernet cable, and we were trying to do power over Ethernet. It didn't work out basically because the cable was too cheap. It was like tin instead of copper. Wouldn't carry the load, wouldn't carry the voltage across. So we ended up having to run a long extension cable, as well as this Ethernet cable that George is laying there. He was another volunteer that came with us on that trip, across into the school side from the orphanage. And then we were able to deploy a Wi-Fi access point there. I just heard today, sadly, I don't know if they tear it down all the time, but I think they at least take that down at night. We wanted it to be up and available 24/7, but one of the rooms nearby the school is locked and really, I think, quite secure. But one of the rooms nearby the room was attacked, or somebody was trying to steal something, and now they're paranoid about the access point being stolen. So I'm not sure if I think it's probably up at least during the classes, or some other Wi-Fi access point, which we also deployed. We daisy-chained 3 of these across the school campus, so almost anywhere in the orphanage right now you can get, or when I left, since yeah, you could get Wi-Fi.
Yeah, one of the things that happens over and over again is you can set stuff up as best as you can, but in a place like this where everything is changing so much, it's going to change. Wires might be taken down and reconnected, stuff like that. You have to always prepare for the worst.
So this is the school server. This is part of what we wanted to accomplish there. So we wanted to get, of course, we needed electrical infrastructure to support the 20 laptops with the educational software. We wanted to deploy the school server. It made more sense to deploy it on the orphanage side, even though it's mainly used for the school, because they have power. They constantly have power. So there was some, let's say, political discussion because the orphanage has to pay for their power. They're on a meter, and the school doesn't actually have to pay for their power. So in theory, you would want to deploy it on the school side. It's being used for the school. I don't know how IRS works there, but it is mainly...
It doesn't.
The main purpose is for the school. If the school is getting free power, it should probably get free power. But we also want this on 24/7. Ideally, we have remote access to it. I guess I should go over quickly what it does. So one of the things that it does is back up the XOs, so when students save their work. And so I might be somewhat wrong about this, but we have some experts, Jack here and George. But yeah, I think it backs up the XOs. It does web caching, so for places that have capped bandwidth, for example, it will cache frequently visited sites so that it can just serve them locally next time you go. We also use it for Internet in a Box, which Braddock knows a little bit about as the main force behind Internet in a Box and the developer. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about Internet in a Box later. So yeah, another thing that we found schools really want in Haiti is blacklisting and whitelisting. Blacklisting, and actually not blacklisting, but whitelisting sites. And as much as everybody at a Linux conference might be like, oh, the internet needs to be open and free, the school is a private organization. I mean, US schools blacklist sites. The way that they do it there, they generally want everything blacklisted and then they'll whitelist as the need arises. So a teacher wants the Haitian Creole newspaper, and then we'll go in remotely, generally so far. As much as we'd love to have local talent, there's not that many Linux experts in the middle of Port-au-Prince, or we haven't found them. We're definitely looking for them. And if we can find them, we'd love to find someone we can work with who can go and ask, or maybe remotely, because there's no need. If we can do it from here, they can definitely do it from there. But yeah, we'll just add sites as necessary, do updates as necessary. We can do all that remotely. If this thing is on, I suspect that once in a while it's being turned off by the local staff who want to save electricity, and I think that might be, sometimes we can't access it, I think that might be some of the problem. I forgot to mention at the beginning, but the group that runs this orphanage and school is called Hope for Haiti's Children, really great organization. You should check out their Facebook page or whatever, talk to me if you want things. The guy there is really helpful, and he, I think, is doing his best to support us as much as we're trying to support him. So I'm sure he will, as we stay in touch with him, he'll eventually get through that. We kind of want it up all the time, and hopefully it will be up all the time. That's my hope anyway. Okay.
Oh, and just to throw the links to people down, what's running underneath?
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about all that interesting Linux stuff. So this also is running Fedora 18, and then we have, it's called XSCE, so school server would be XS, and then community edition.
Open source, of course.
Yeah. It installs with Ansible. It's actually not too hard to install. You can do it on pretty much any computer. If you want to give it a try, it's not hard to do that. And then it will do all of the basic things. As far as blacklisting and whitelisting, that will take some extra setup. I think it does web caching pretty much automatically. It's pretty set up. This. How's time? We're good. Okay. So I'll tell a little interesting story just to give you an idea about how things go in Haiti. So George, who's sitting over here, prepared this in California. He got it shipped, I think, right to Palo Alto or wherever, somewhere up in a little bit north from here. Got everything set up, got Internet in the Box working. Before that, school server installed, Fedora installed, XSCE installed, and then brought it down to Haiti. And we were hoping to, hours later, put it in the school. Of course, we thought, well, we'll just test it out before we actually bring it there. Plug it in, push the power, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The whole thing was completely dead, or maybe the power light would turn on for a second or two. So we took it apart a bunch of times, couldn't figure out what was happening. We ended up taking the whole thing apart down to the CPU and reseated the CPU, rebuilt the whole thing, and the power came on, but the operating system wouldn't load. And in hindsight, I had thought of it. I should have brought an extra hard drive with everything prepared, but I hadn't. So what we ended up doing, I did think I had enough to bring a Fedora 18 ISO. I had some USB sticks. While we were there, I put together a live USB stick. We ended up installing Fedora. Tim's not here today. Another volunteer had brought. He theorized it was possible to do an offline install of the XSCE software on top of Fedora. So he had brought all the repositories necessary. And so without ever having actually done it before, we all just managed to come together with the various things that we brought and our various skills. And we did the offline install. It went about 90% of the way through and then crashed because there were some Git installs that wouldn't go through. But late that night, we started the Git installs to finish up, run the Ansible or whatever, to get the last bit installed. And of course, the internet went down in the middle of the night or something. It didn't work. But the following day, we went and did all the electrical infrastructure, the stuff where you just saw George laying the cable across. I believe that's how it went. And then I think it was the day after that, we actually were able to deploy the school server. The last bits of setup with the blacklisting, whitelisting, and all that had to be done at the location, which wasn't exactly ideal, but as far as we, yeah. But it has been working recently, so we added some, yeah. So hopefully today as well. Yeah, this is the access point. So this is, we ran the electrical cable from the orphanage, which is way over there. The Ethernet. This Ethernet is actually going to daisy chain router, and then it goes to another one that's in the back of the orphanage to cover the whole campus. This is a village telco. I think it's based on TP-Link. Is that right? TP-Link routers? Yeah. So again, how are we doing? Okay. So yeah, this is what the classroom basically looks like. So another one of the issues that we ran into was when you have 20 laptops like this, they can actually do mesh networking. So you don't need an access point per se, but when you have more, it turns out when you have more than 13 or 14 of them, it kind of overloads the networking. So the access point sometimes doesn't show up, the Wi-Fi access point, and when you're trying to connect to it. It seems to be a problem with the mesh networking interfering somehow. I'm not exactly sure. I think there's a fix for it. If not, there will be soon. There's people all over the world working on that problem. Yeah, so I think I'll talk a little bit about that. No, this is good for. Yeah. So one of the things that we had to do was figure out. One of the other things we had to do was figure out how to get the teachers to be able to teach with these laptops. And if they're familiar with computers, they might be able to sort of come up with some ideas on their own, but we thought it would be really useful to have like a guide or something. A lot of the teachers being in Port-au-Prince, have used computers before. A lot of these kids haven't. So it's sometimes hard to just bring yourself down to that level of not knowing how do you use a touchpad, how do you use a mouse, how do you do anything, how do you turn it on, how do you turn it off. So another volunteer who's not depicted here, basically, she was there for a month before we were training teachers, and while she was there, and I think a little bit before, she was working on a course guide, kind of curriculum. It just starts with the assumption that the student knows nothing about computers. So the first day, they will get the computers in front of them, and they'll try to open it up, and if you haven't tried to do it, come by our booth over there and try to open one up. It's harder than you think, probably. The kids will try to open it up. Once they get it open, usually the teacher will go over the pieces. This is the keyboard, this is the touchpad, these are the Wi-Fi antennas, or this is in this case we had mice, so they had to be shown how to plug in the USB mice. Once they go over all the parts of the laptop, they'll go outside, okay, so before that, they'll be shown how to open the photo activity, then they'll go outside and take a bunch of photos. Then they'll come back inside, rename the photo and save it. And it might sound like going outside, taking a photo, coming back in, renaming it, and saving it isn't going to take very long, but for kids who've never used laptops before, it actually does take, the whole thing takes about one lesson's worth. So then the course guide tries to build off that by the next lesson, you'll go out and take some more photos, and then you use a program called PhotoTune, which allows you to take a bunch of photos and put them together in sort of frames. And then you can put speech bubbles and text and things like that. And so what we ask them to do is make a cartoon, or what the course guide does anyway. So they make a little cartoon using several photos. It gets them introduced to clicking and dragging, using the keyboard, all of those things. Later activities use things like Internet in the Box to have them look up a word on Wikipedia, maybe cut and paste a photo and draw on that or something like that. And then there's possibilities. It's not meant to be super strict, so if you wanted to kind of adapt things, you want to try to bring kids to programming, maybe you can design the activities similarly, but in a way that leads up to Scratch or something like that. If you haven't used Scratch, it's a cool visually based programming language, basically building programming. So that's a kind of general idea of how the course some of the problems that we faced in our deployments, how we solved those problems, and also just a snapshot basically of how the actual class will go once you get all the infrastructure problems solved. And yeah, so I mentioned a couple times Internet in a Box, and we have Internet in a Box here. We deployed it at one more school while I was there, and I think it's at a few more schools in Haiti. And James was getting annoyed that I cut into this.
Just to reemphasize the course guide, what's great about the course guide that mostly Sora, who's on our team, has put together, is that it allows teachers basically anywhere in the world to, working with these computers and working with some of the content we have, also combined with Internet in a Box is another great combination, to actually come up with a way to integrate these into their curriculum. It's easy to bring these to a place and give them to the kids and to the teachers, but a lot of people before up to now have been doing all these different things. They've been coming up with their different curriculum and not really coordinating it very well. They put it in blogs on the internet. Well, this is lesson today and the next day. And anyone who wanted to go do these projects would have to go read, 25 different blogs and then try and find the idea that they wanted to do. Well, it's good if we put them all into one book. That's a huge improvement going forward for anyone who wants to do another deployment of these. And that ties into what Kurt was saying, Internet in a Box. Kurt talked about School Server, which is one of the open source products that we use in our different schools. School Server is great for connecting laptops together and backups and connecting to the internet, network stuff. Internet in a Box, what that's great for is it's great for bringing a lot of content, a lot of learning content to a place where internet connectivity either doesn't exist or it's very slow. So that's why it's called Internet in a Box. What it comes with is Wikipedia in 37 languages, 40,000 ebooks. It has OpenStreetMap, which you probably know is the open source version of Google Maps. OpenStreetMap all the way from the world view down to Street View. And it comes with Khan Academy videos, and it also comes with a whole ton of open source software for Linux. So the teachers, without this, would have some of this. They have some Wikipedia, some images and stuff that come on the computers, but the computers, of course, have small hard drives. What this does is basically, it takes a huge chunk of the things that the teachers would want to use the internet for, and then it kind of makes the internet, in those cases, unnecessary. They can have kids do research projects, stuff like that. They can have the kids watch Khan Academy videos for math, tutor themselves. There's all sorts of possibilities that you can do once you bring this to a place where internet is hard to get. So that is just about an overview of our recent exploits in Haiti and in general, the different kind of tools we use. I mean, we use Internet in a Box, we use School Server, we use these laptops, we use solar power. We're Unleashed Kids, and what we've been doing is basically bringing all these things together, integrating them together. Specifically, we're working in Haiti, but we have much bigger goals than that. And we bring these things together in order to help teachers and help the students, for them to just get a better education in general. You probably know about One Laptop Per Child. We've developed all of this. We're not One Laptop Per Child, but you've probably noticed, I mean, over the past few years they've had a few issues. They're not so much in the news anymore. Some logistical, politics issues. Anyways,
regardless, there's a huge community behind One Laptop Per Child that wants to support these laptops and make sure that they're being used and being used well.
The community still stands of programmers, of people in different countries using the computers, support, testers, all these people. And that's what we've come out of, is we want to work with these people. We bring these technologies together. That's our goal.
Yeah, so that's sort of what Unleashed Kids is. Yeah, when did you get involved in?
I got involved, like I said, I went to Haiti once, then I learned about One Laptop Per Child. as I was putting my project together, I got involved with a couple other people, with one girl who was doing a similar thing. I learned that people did similar things. I mean, a lot of people, I think young people see the laptops and they come up with this same idea actually. Oh, it wouldn't actually be that hard to get these laptops and to bring them to an isolated place. I mean, all I need to do is learn how to use them and travel and teach people how to use them. Of course, we learn there are more challenges than that. I mean, we have to get teachers to consistently keep using the laptops. We have to learn what the teachers want. There's a lot more to it than that. That's how I got involved. How did you get involved?
Right, so after I graduated college, I sort of had some free time, and I just went to the One Laptop Per Child website and poked around and found the email list to volunteer. And yeah, I got hold of Adam, who's hiding in the back there, and he just hooked me up with everybody, with a few people, including Sora, who was the one who was in Haiti for a month before we arrived. And I attended the One Laptop Per Child San Francisco Summit last year. And made a lot of connections with a lot of people. I ended up meeting Braddock, just tangent or tangent or tangent or tangent. And then, so like James said, the great thing about Unleash Kids is we stand connected to all these different pieces. And so when we are going to Haiti, we don't have to look for one solution to put everywhere. We can say maybe this is going to work here, maybe that is going to work there, and it's a little bit more malleable than
we use the XOs, but we don't depend on them. If we find in the next few years that there's going to be a better solution than the XOs, if there's Android or Raspberry Pi or Arduino or something like that, then that's what it'll be.
Yeah, there's another person that we're in contact with who's brought 700 Linux Mint laptops, so he gets corporate donations. Basically, he's brought some 700 Linux Mint laptops all over Haiti, including some places you can only get to by horseback or airplane. And I think, did they deploy it in another box at that location?
We made a couple attempts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the result is.
I haven't
Find a candidate for another box.
Right. It's exactly the kind of place where it would be most useful, where they basically cannot get the internet. So if you have this 1 terabyte packet, because it's delivered every year or 6 months or whatever you can, it's better than no packets, right? It's a slow and big chunk at once, but it's some kind of connection, at least in a way.
Hey, Wikipedia from 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's
I
better
use
than
that.
Yeah, you can learn a lot from that. So I think, do we have some questions?
No, we just, you can get involved if you're interested. We just kind of came together by chance. We just found each other. If you're wondering what kind of stuff we need to make stuff like this keep happening, well, there's a lot of projects going on that are being developed, but could use a lot more. Internet in a Box, for one thing, Braddock is doing a really great job of that, but he doesn't have much help. It takes a lot of work to process Wikipedia dumps and to process maps, to render those and to get Khan Academy. That might be more grueling work, but that's stuff that has to be done in order to get that final product. School server also needs a lot of work, a lot of programming, and especially a lot of documentation. So programmers there, those programmers could also use a lot of help.
I'm sure everyone's like, I'd love to do documentation, but yeah, it's a big need.
Yes. Sugar is Sugar and Sugar application. The applications on the computer, these are all made by volunteers. I mean, they're originally made by One Laptop Per Child. A lot of them were made just by volunteers for free. All this stuff that ends up in the classroom in Haiti is made by a lot of volunteers who've never even traveled to Haiti. There's a group, I mean, we're of course based in Los Angeles, Kurt and I. There's also a One Laptop Per Child group in San Francisco, if that's where you're from. In general, we're looking for people who share this kind of interest, who are interested in making education better around the world through technology, of course, and of course we use open source technology, and any kind of expertise like that. I mean, we're we're generalists, and we need more specific expertise every once in a while. It would be really great to have.
Yeah, developers, especially, so in my opinion, developers that know how to develop for education, if you have like a double major in education and computer science, something like that, you know somebody who's in education you can talk to as you're making development, doing making a program, making something like that, that would be really wonderful. There's a lot of educational software already there. I guess I'm going to mention it now. I see a lot of software for young kids, a lot of educational software for very young kids, and I'm wondering, is there something missing for junior high to high school age kids? Like, do we just need to give them something like Internet Box if they don't have real internet, or and that's what they have to use? But it seems like there might be there might be a need for some actual software to help them learn certain things. And there's not many people focusing on junior high and high school age kids and software to help them learn the things that they need to learn. That's one of the specific needs. I mean, we also kind of need, or more sign, sorry, a little more sign. Oh, okay. Another thing we need is people who are crazy like us, who are willing to go into
That's my side.
a mountain in the middle of, well, just outside of Port-au-Prince, or another one that's way in the south in the desert. Did you know Haiti has a desert? Well, we have a deployment there. We're near the Dominican border. The adults would be like, I'm going to go to Haiti and set up a school on my own at 17. So you might not be 17, but whatever. If you're willing to sort of go to a location that has that kind of need and work to get all of these pieces together, then that's really helpful. Or if you're willing to just, even if you just have some ideas about how it might work better, hearing what we've gone through, we're definitely interested in hearing about that as well.
So to follow on what Kurt was saying, the biggest peak of this kind of work is you get to feel like this.
Right.
This incredibly exciting work. You get to go travel. We mentioned all those other jobs, and then of course there's this one job that we do of actually going out there into go to Haiti, go to a poorer place. It's exciting to go there, check up the mountain with the heavy equipment. It's quite an adventure. So that's what attracts some people to it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm attracted to this kind of stuff. It's really fun and exciting to be putting all this stuff together in such an exciting way.
So, if we're winding down, we should mention two things that you should visit if you're interested in our talk. One of them is Braddock's talk tomorrow at
1:30.
1:30.
That's a talk on Internet in a Box.
About Internet in a Box in particular.
Specifically.
It'll be zoomed in on Internet in a Box. Of course, we brushed over it. There's a lot of really interesting stuff about that. So, if you're interested in our stuff, you're probably interested in Internet in a Box. The other one is the Birds of a Feather, which is tonight at 7. Do you remember that? Yes, please.
So it sometimes ends up that way. I mean, I learned French in high school. When you go to Haiti, we're focused on Haiti. That's an easy transition to Haitian Creole, which is based on French. Sora taught herself French.
Sora's the volunteer who developed the course guide, by the way.
Adam learned some Creole. Kurt learned some Creole. Adam speaks very good French. So it ended up like that. But there are other, even if you don't speak the language, even if I didn't speak the language, you can still find ways you can still find ways to work with that. I mean, you can find people who are bilingual. I actually spoke more Creole on my first trip than on my second trip because I realized that if I spoke to the kids using English, using slow, basic English, and I used hand gestures to articulate it, that they would actually learn English that way. And they would still understand everything I was telling them. So I tried to go back and forth. Anything you have to add to that?
No, I mean, I picked up a little Creole, Haitian Creole while I was there. I don't speak French at all, so a lot of people would try to speak to me in French, and I'd be like, no. I'd respond in Creole, but I don't speak French. But the Sora was a volunteer, that was mentioned. She speaks almost perfect Creole. I mean, there's maybe some accent or something, but she can get across pretty much anything. So she was with us the whole time, and that was really helpful. But yeah, there's always someone available who could go and bridge that gap if it was necessary. With Sora being so good at it, it wasn't a problem while I was there.
And as we, in the future, hopefully travel to different countries with this kind of projects, we may have to adapt some different approaches. I mean, we're not always going to speak language if we go to a country, so it might require some more creativity.
Did you have a question, Brad?
Yeah, I was wondering what the internet situation was with that orphanage.
Right, yeah, I forgot to mention that. It's in my notes and I was looking up it. So they have one of the rarest connections ever, an actual DSL, I believe. Is that right?
3G.
It is 3G. Oh, so I was wrong about that. I thought it was, okay. So it's
I told you, Kurt. I said that's impossible. There are no cables.
Somehow I got it in my head that it was wired. Yeah, never mind. So they have a 3G router that goes into another Wi-Fi router, I believe, or it's built in together. I'm not exactly sure. And then there's one network for the orphanage, and teachers, I think, are allowed to use that network. The kids are all using one that goes through school service. So it goes from the modem to Wi-Fi, and then that's connected to school server, and then all of the access points that we deployed are through school server. So you think anybody who wandered by with their cell phone actually could get internet at Mox, but could not get, and they might be able to get the whitelisted sites, but they could not get anything else.
Okay. So it's locked down and it's expensive.
I think it's probably 30 something a month.
Yeah, it's by month, maybe it might be
They got a luxury one for $65.
Right. They have a decent budget. They're involved with some church groups here. They sell like coffee on their website, but it's a minimum order of like 26 pounds of coffee. So they can afford to. Yeah, not everywhere is like that. Some places they get the $35 a month USB stick, 3G stick, and that can also work with school server and whatnot.
And just to give the background for that, Haiti is one of the countries that, not having laid the groundwork for actually having telephone lines and stuff like that, they leapfrogged over the whole ground cable and the whole cable thing. So they're a country that's entirely based on cell towers. So you get your cell phone, and then internet comes from that.
And the twist on your question, some of these schools have internet that don't use it. And we often ask the principal, will you ever tolerate your kids using the internet? No, we wouldn't tolerate that. Then we turn on and we whitelist translate like Google.com and a few other sites. And then we show it off to them. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Our kids can translate.
Yeah.
That's so great what you did. They don't always realize because you have to go through internet sites into their school.
So the power is really that by blocking most of the internet, we're actually giving them the internet.
Yeah, at least so unblocking something like translate.google.com makes them see a usefulness for it, and so they're going to see kids using it for education, and then maybe be a little bit more sympathetic to opening it up. So did I see the...
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate you for what you've done. It's really terrific.
Oh, thank you.
And then the second thing, I'd like to encourage you that when you leave something there, like a manual, that you leave the teachers there with the ability to update that so they can build it, grow it, and localize it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the teachers actually don't have computers, so we can't get this sort of instant feedback. But what we do is try to stay in contact with them as much as possible. Usually weekly calls on Skype or something like that. So if they're having a certain issue or if they want something developed, ideally they're going to convey that to the person they're in contact
I was
with here.
thinking more of like the
course
plans
materials,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. I think that they would probably be in a better position to decide, determine what lesson
Yes.
plans they need
Yes.
than perhaps we would.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
One of the things that
Yes.
we want to find a way to do is give them the ability to take the lesson plans that they get and then adapt them to their situation.
Yeah, well, yeah, so when we gave the lessons plans, we tried to put that they don't have to follow this plan. It's not a curriculum. They don't graduate from our university. It's just guidelines for them to show them how a course might go. And if they use it, that's fine. If they update it and they tell us how they updated it, that's great.
I think the point here is we should make it easy for them to wikify this, basically, because we sort of made the first draft. She's told the teachers, you can integrate this into your course material. If they integrate the course material back, that can go to other teachers in Haiti, and then that can even go, we have a bilingual version. That can go to other countries, hopefully, eventually.
Yeah, one of the things that Sora in particular, the one who was there for a month training all these teachers, is trying to do is get the teachers talking to each other so that we don't even have to be involved, and they just start updating each other's course material, ad hoc.
But they can't all talk to
Of
each other
course
in the
not,
whole
yeah.
country.
But as much as possible, we want them to be in contact with each other. The ideal like sort of system for a sysadmin is to automate everything and step away. And that's probably the ideal situation if we can ever get it going. Assistant will also know that you'll never get it going perfectly. Something will go wrong and you have to fix and tweak it.
Yeah, it requires a lot of maintenance on our part so far to keep everything well.
But yeah, it's a good point, and yeah, I do think we should focus on getting some feedback back as well. It will be helpful for other places if we were able to step away from Haiti because the network is growing on its own. Then,
I do hope that eventually the course guide is written by teachers for us. Yeah. Anything else about any of the technologies we used? Solar power, Block school server, what it took. Yes.
Okay, so we can talk about this in the talk or whatever, but so the thing you were doing with the, having the whole power school suitcase thing?
Yeah.
So that's something you guys came up with? Because you were talking like you would like build this thing yourself, like these were your ideas. Yeah.
It was my idea. It took a lot of learning. I had time on my hands. I kind of had the rough idea. I learned about the computers. I realized it would take solar power. And I explained it kind of a more polished version of the actual story, which is that my first version didn't work. Parts broke, and we had to get new parts. So it took a lot more than just me thinking of it. Does that kind of explain it?
A little bit. I was more wondering like whether you'd seen someone else do the same thing before and then you redid it, or was this like the first time it has ever been done, and I should be spreading this idea around.
It's not the first time it's ever been done, but I think that the plans we have, which I think I forgot to mention, that I put up on Unleash. Kurt and I put together a good description of this on UnleashKids.org if you're curious.
I
seeing the documentation.
Did this come from somewhere else, or did they just post this?
So he designed the basic system, and then when I went there to improve it.
So George, who's on our team, knows a lot about solar power. I came up with the first idea. I mean, I knew a little bit about electronics. I tried to put something together. I found that solar panel. Other people, I didn't know anyone had ever used that solar panel.
Right, because like I've seen implementations like this, but it always has the hard solar panel.
Yeah.
That's like always the stopping point. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
You can't get them
Yeah.
in the country. You can't ship them to the country. Yada, yada,
That's why I'm so excited about this one, and it worked.
Unfortunately, that company is no longer making.
Yeah, so the bad news is that rollout solar panel.
Wait, hang on there. There's still some left. I know where to get them. I have a source.
On my, in our blog post, actually it's a page now or whatever, on the website, there's actually a link to Amazon reseller or whatever, who's selling them right now. I don't know if they'll be available forever in the future, but hopefully, I mean, it's really useful.
They
It's
were
not only there,
originally
but here.
made in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think the reason why they're probably not selling them anymore is they made them for people's roofs here, and they're just not. They just take up more space when they just roll it out and then they stick it to the roof. So that's probably not so useful, but it's really useful in a traveling context. Yeah. It's not permanent. We take it out every night.
Which solves two problems at once, because the two big concerns at Fairgate where that's deployed were how to get it up there and the security.
Security also weather.
Not there so much.
Not even like rain or typhoons.
There is, but they kind of know it's coming, and I think that panel could probably get wet if it's honest.
That panel is actually waterproof. The stuff that's connected to it, I probably wouldn't want to leave that out in the rainstorm. But yeah, no, it took a lot of research to figure out how to get it done, and it took a lot of trial and error. Another tangential story to that is I actually built 2 solar panels on my own, which I then broke, trying to bring them to Haiti in the airport, because it's just a crazy place. But that ended up being the one that survived the test.
It turns out too, Sora, the volunteer we keep mentioning, bought at a big hardware store, MSC Plus in Haiti, one of those hard panels. And I believe she managed to get it to Onset Peak, which is a really remote area, basically on the back of Taps, which is like the taxi bus that you just kind of hop on. You can do it. You can get it to those sort of remote areas. It might be extra difficult because you have to take a motorcycle up a mountain.
Yeah.
How much time is? If we have any extra time?
Nope, we're done.
Yeah, thanks everybody so much for coming. Don't miss Bragg's talk tomorrow at 1:30. If you're interested, come to...
Look for our booth. Look for us around the conference, and our website is unleashkids.org. We're really looking for people who might just have some advice for us on using educational software. If you know a tool that's an educational tool that uses Linux that we're missing.
We have T-shirts. I believe they may be for sale. They look like this. Use anything you want. Yeah.
Use this one.
I want that one.
Oh, can you throw them on here?
Yeah. I have your solar panel that I borrowed.